Rockies and Cardinals, and a gorgeous night here in downtown St. Louis. WGN Sports on My 50 brings you game one of a three-game series from Busch Stadium. And great to have you with us, Jim DeShays and Len Casper. A lot of people had this week circled on their calendar, but before we talk about this 19-game season series, let's go back to last year. Cubs needed to learn how to beat their rivals, and by the end of the year, they did.
Yeah, early on, the Cubs really had their struggles against St. Louis, winning just 2 times in the first 10 meetings. And you see the Cardinal pitching was able to shut down the Cubs. They batted just .229 against the Cardinals through those first 10 ball games. With the last 9 matchups, the Cubs managed to win 6 of those 9 ball games, much better average, high on base percentage. Cubs from the end of July on were the best team in all of baseball, so no surprise to see that improvement against the Cardinals.
Jason Hayward and John Lackey were a part of that 100-win club that was eliminated by the Cubs in the playoffs. They are with the Cubs. They're both in the lineup tonight. The reception might be a little chilly.
Yeah, Cardinals are playing winning baseball now after a sluggish start, but yeah, we expect a rude reaction for Jason Hayward. Probably less so for John Lackey, but it should be a lot of fun here tonight.
All right, we'll talk about the other starting pitcher and a new member of the Cardinals, but really all about Jason Hayward coming back to St. Louis after signing an 8-year deal with the Cubs. Chicago Cubs baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. Honda. Get amazing deals at the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event now at your Honda dealer. State Farm. Combine your car and home insurance with State Farm and start saving. Call your State Farm agent today or find one at statefarm.com. Mattress Firm, where we want you to sleep happy guaranteed. Remember, if it's over 8, it's time to replace. Your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide.
Seeing the place that I got to spend some time last year, I see a lot of friends, see a lot of good people that I made relationships with, and that's the biggest thing. Other than that, it's a game. It's just like playing against your brother. You know, you're happy to see him, but when the game starts, you're going to compete and have fun. And after the game, you know, you're still boys.
I mean, those fans, they've been on your social media feed. You know, they kind of dogged you. Are you expecting any kind of heckling, or you welcome it?
It doesn't matter. Don't care. Everybody has a right to their opinion, man. You know, always, whatever it is, whether it's the team thing, whether it's any individual, we only care about what goes on in our clubhouse, and that's all we can control. So everybody has a right to do whatever, man. I feel like it's going to be fun for the fans. I think some Cubs fans will be there as well. It's just going to be a good time for everybody. They'll do whatever back and forth, but we're just going to play some baseball and compete against some good teams.
And as you'd expect, Jason Hayward saying all the right things.
Yeah, he was very complimentary earlier today of the Cardinals organization and how the Cubs have to try to mirror the success that the Cardinals have had. He only played here 1 year. This is kind of this hue and cry out of the Cardinal nation about Hayward leaving, but he was only here for 1 season.
All right, it'll be Mike Leake, who signed with the Cardinals as a free agent in the offseason for St. Louis tonight, and the Cubs are very familiar with him. We'll have Cubs baseball coming up. In their first ever playoff matchup last October. Can't wait. Game 1 next. In high definition is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. 78 degrees as we get started. 2 high-powered offenses here in the first 2 weeks of the regular season. And let's check out the Cubs Southwest starting lineup. Dexter Fowler off to a great start. Hayward batting second. Yes, he was booed loudly when the Cubs lineup was announced here. Ben Zobrist grew up a Cardinal fan. He's now a Cub. Rizzo, good numbers against Mike Leake. Chris Bryant's at third. Miguel Montero back of the plate. Jorge Soler is in left. Addison Russell playing short, batting 8th, with John Lackey pitching and batting 9th.
Check in with the Cardinals defensively. You'll see a couple names out there you're probably not familiar with. You know all about Matt Holliday in left. He's a 7-time All-Star. But Jeremy Hazelbaker has been quite a story in the early going for the Cardinals. He plays center tonight. Stephen Piscotty is in right field. Matt Carpenter, always reliable down at third base. That's Alednis Diaz from Cuba. Manning shortstop tonight. Colton Wong at second. Brandon Moss at first. Yadier Molina, the Gold Glover, is behind the plate. This club has committed 14 errors, tied for the most in Major League Baseball. On the mound tonight is the veteran right-hander Mike Leake, signed to a 5-year free agent contract in the offseason. He's made 2 starts. He's 0-1 with a 6.97 ERA.
Let's get the umpires for tonight. That is Carlos Torres back of the plate. Jerry Davis, the crew chief, is at first. Sam Holbrook at second, and Rob Drake over at third. So Fowler will dig in. Cubs come in 9-3. 2-game lead over the 7-5 Cardinals. Cubs went 5-1 on their opening road trip. 4-2 on the just completed homestand. And here we go. Outside ball 1 to get us started.
Leake primarily a sinker baller, and he's really leaned heavily on that pitch in the early going here for the Cardinals. He'll also throw a cutter, a slider, change, and a curve. Not overpowering, average velocity, maybe a tick below. Tremendous athlete, tough to run on, really fields his position well.
That ball driven, and it's going to get down. Fowler to second with a standing double, and here comes Jason Hayward. Good start.
Batting second, number 22, right fielder Jason Hayward.
So the home fans
doffing the helmet.
There are a lot of Cub fans in the park, and they're standing and cheering.
And there are some Cardinal fans I'm seeing that are standing and cheering as well.
Well, that's good. So runner at second and nobody out. Carpenter in on the grass. 3 infielders to the right of second. And Leake's first pitch misses for ball 1. Hayward was traded from Atlanta to St. Louis prior to last year after the tragic death of Oscar Taveras. Went into free agency, signed an 8-year contract with the Cubs this past winter, and ahead in the count 2-0. Kick, the pitch, and a foul out of play. Mike Leake is a very good athlete. He handles the bat well, fields his position well, and he's locked in after signing in the offseason to a 5-year deal with a mutual option for a 6th season.
Cubs have seen a lot of him over the years with his time with the Reds. He's 9-2, and with a 3.15 ERA against the Cubs, he's made 19 starts against them.
That's foul past first.
Well, Jason Hayward, like many of these Cub hitters, did not get a whole lot done with the bat on the homestand. Jason, just 3 out of 20. It's a 150 batting average on the homestand. He's been just a little bit late getting to the fastball.
Cubs wearing their primary road gray tops for the first time. They wore the blue unis on the first trip. And the 2-2 called strike 3, and Hayward knew it. That's the first out.
See, Molina sets up off the outside corner. A little backdoor cut fastball or a slider to the outside corner. Nice pitch by Leake. He's not a big strikeout pitcher, well below average in terms of his strikeout rate. More of a pitch to contact guy, and when he's on his game, it'll be a busy day for the infielders.
Now switch hitting Ben Zobrist, who taps foul. He is 0 for his last 21. And a ground ball to first. It's Brandon Moss for the out. Fowler at third, but 2 gone. And it'll bring up Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, that would have been good enough to get him in. Had to get him over part. Panned out, but Hayward punched out, so the ground ball, not a whole lot of help. So we're up to the leadoff double, a couple outs, and now it's up to Rizzo to drive that run home. Let's check in with our Lexus run predictor. Runner on third, 2 outs. Cubs have delivered 17% of the time. The Cardinals pitching has been really good in that department here in the early going. Brought to you by your Chicago area Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer.
One strike on Rizzo. 10 career homers versus St. Louis, including 5 here. 61 career games overall against the Cardinals.
He has enjoyed success against this crafty right-hander. 10 out of 30. That's .333. And a couple of home runs.
On the outside corner, according to Carlos Torres. And Rizzo not in agreement. Leaks 1-2, hit him. Fowler racing to the plate, but he'll have to head back to third.
Top of the toe.
Mike Matheny looks on. First manager in Major League history to guide his team to the postseason each of his first 4 seasons. So it's Chris Bryant. Runners at first and third. And he takes the pitch off the outside corner. Rizzo last year got hit 30 times to lead the majors, and it set a club record. That's the 3rd hit by pitch. So you go back to the start of 2014, he's been hit 48 times. In the air to right, deep but playable for Stephen Piscotty, and Leak gets out of it. 2 stranded. Cardinals coming up against John Lackey. Cardinals are scoring runs in bunches. Carpenter, Hazelbaker, and Holiday at the top. Moss, Piscotty, and Molina in the middle. Wong, Diaz, and Leak, who can handle the bat, at the bottom.
Defensively, you're looking at the tallest outfield in Major League history right there. So Larry Fowler and Hayward, left, center, right. Bryant, Russell, Zobrist, Rizzo, third to first. Miguel Montero behind the plate. And our Cubs starting pitcher, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. The card to carry through it all, it's the big righty, John Lackey.
And a strike on Carpenter. Two-time All-Star Matt Carpenter. And he fouls off.
Well, Lackey attacking as he always does. Throws strike one a high percentage of the time. Second best in Major League Baseball in that regard last year. This is his first ever regular season start against the St. Louis Cardinals. So now with this start, he will have started against every major league club. He did face them in the World Series.
Yeah, he's the only active pitcher to have faced every current franchise. The 1-2 is popped down the left field line. Foul territory, the slide, and good effort, but Russell just can't haul it in.
It's ruled a no play. A long way to run for Russell. He's got the best shot. He's got the best angle. It's always a tough decision for a guy trying to make a play like that. You know, you could say, well, stay upright, take one or two more strides. But if you do that, there's a real good chance you're going to flip into the stands.
And Montero asked Lackey to attempt a do-over. So here we go. Another 1-2, and it's outside. Cardinals averaging 7.08 runs per game. They got swept in Pittsburgh to start the year. Scored about 2.5 runs a game in that series. They're averaging almost 9 runs a game since. They're hitting all kinds of home runs. I think of the Cardinals last year, and it was their pitching that was most responsible for their success, but this year it's flipped a little early.
And contributions from a lot of different guys you haven't heard a whole lot about, including that man on deck, Hazelbaker. Ooh.
Lackey thought it was strike 3. So Carpenter, who always takes a lot of walks, is on.
Just off that inside edge.
Former Cub coach Bill Miller is at first base. The Cardinals have had to make some adjustments with their coaching staff. Longtime third base coach Jose Oquendo is recovering from knee surgery. There's a broken back ground ball. They'll get one, and that's it. So Jeremy Hazelbaker hits into a fielder's choice. So he takes over at first for Carpenter.
Yeah, cracked bat. Hazelbaker runs well. Would have been a difficult double play to turn. The key here is Addison Russell has to make sure now that he has the ball and contact with the bag at the same time. The infielders are not going to be able to get away with that neighborhood play, at least according to the rules. They're not supposed to get away with it.
What do we have here? I think the Cardinals are trying to figure out if Russell was on the bag, and they will not replay, or they will? They will not.
Yeah, but I'm sure that's what they were reviewing.
Yep. I'm still getting used to that.
Yeah.
I think everybody is.
Yeah, on a routine, a clean feed to a middle infielder, he still has to make sure he has contact with the base. That's close. And that's you know, your instincts. You've played the game a certain way for a lot of years, and all of a sudden to have to kind of change the rhythm and the timing of the play, but it's incumbent on those middle infielders to make sure they do that. In his time with the Cardinals, Lackey outstanding here at Busch Stadium, 11-4 with a 2.03 earned run average. He made 22 starts here, and that ERA in this ballpark is the best in any ballpark in which he has started at least 4 ball games, and the best mark of any pitcher who has started 10 or more games in the history of this stadium.
2 strikes on Matt Holliday, and the pitch. Long run in, Hayward, and he slides, and he makes the catch. And he gets booed for that.
He's gonna, yeah, it's, you know, it'll wear off over time.
Yeah.
But the first few games he plays in this ballpark, everything he does is going to be met with derision.
Cub fans quickly growing fond of his defensive work in right. Here's Brandon Moss in the cleanup spot, and he takes a strike. Anyway, just wanted to follow up. Bill Miller is their assistant hitting coach, but he has moved to first base. Chris Maloney, who was at first, is now over at third because Jose Oquendo is out after knee surgery and possibly could be out all year. Derek May, the former Cub, their minor league hitting coordinator, now with the big league staff. Quick throw to first, and the runner's back. There's Maloney. Lackey has been very successful on this mound here in St. Louis. Fouled off. I want to correct myself. If he wins tonight, he will have beaten all 30 current franchises and would be the first active pitcher to do that.
Well, he's had an outstanding career. 167 wins, 127 losses, a .393 lifetime earned run average.
Runner goes on the 1-2, and Moss fouls again.
Moss has big time power. He's hit 4 home runs this year. He does strike out a lot.
Lackey, 37 years old, 6'6", 235, and another 1-2, swung on and missed. His first strikeout, and the inning is over. 0-0 after 1. Manage the game along with Joe Madden. Log on to WGNTV.com right now and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and info while watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape. Pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer. Cubs Cardinals game 1. 18 to follow in the regular season, and then who knows beyond. It was almost too good to be true last year when these two teams met up in the postseason for the first time ever, and then it got better because the Cubs won the series 3-1. Joe Madden admits he grew up rooting for the Cardinals.
Good verb, admits.
Well, he's just being honest.
And no Lester, no Arrieta in this series.
Leadoff walk, Miguel Montero.
I think the real strength of this Cardinal team, even though it's been offense so far this year, but I think if you analyze this club over the long haul, what's going to make them really good yet again this year is the depth in the rotation. They've got 1 through 5 really solid. Jaime Garcia, who we'll see tomorrow, is off to a great start. He pitched a 1-hitter last time out. Michael Wacha is a good one. Carlos Martinez, who will pitch the finale of the series, probably has the best stuff of any of their starters.
Adam Wainwright off to a slow start. The guy on the left in that picture was Lance Lynn. He's out for the year. Line shot, Soler retired by Hazelbaker.
That ball was blasted. I've seen a lot of good things from Soler here in the early going. Great swing there. He likes hitting here. 9 out of 20 before that, AB.
Now Addison Russell, he sat out yesterday for the first time. And ball 1. Right back to Leake, and 1 to 4 to 3. Leake to Wong to Moss, and the inning is over.
Check out JD and Len's baseball blog at WGNTV.com. The blog is sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 38 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side.
Temperatures in the mid-70s. Should be in good shape these first two nights. Possible rain on Wednesday afternoon, getaway day. Did you say JD and Len? It's not in the contract.
You're going to catch it.
Fine with me.
You must have gotten a hint from down below. Somebody ratted me out.
Piscotty hit 3 homers in the division series against the Cubs. He was a Cardinal minor league player of the year last year. 63 games at the big league level. They've got good depth. Position player wise, they just got Ruben Tejada off the DL. As Bryant will get Piscotty. Johnny Peralta on the disabled list to start the year. He's got a torn left thumb ligament, but dealing with injuries is kind of what the Cardinals do, right? It feels like the last few years they've had to deal with several.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about Joe Madden and the versatility he has on his roster, and that's been the story here in St. Louis for years.
Swing and a miss by Molina.
A big part of Tony La Russa's MO to have versatile guys that he can move all around the diamond. Thinking about the whole Hayward thing, there's probably a few guys in Cardinal uniforms that are glad that he's gone because they're going to get a lot more ABs. Piscotty and Grichuk and Hazel Baker and some of these other outfielders.
0-2 on Yadier Molina. His backup is on the DL. That's Brian Pena. So Eric Fryer is filling in, and Fryer's 6 for 6, had 3 hits, including the game winner yesterday. So former battery mates battling here, and the pitcher wins round 1.
Kind of a feeble swing here by Molina at the Lackey slider. So, yeah, you know about Molina, Holiday, Carpenter, the mainstays, but Len talked about Fryer, and he, along with Diaz and Hazelbaker, have really done great things. Fryer's had limited playing time, but they've combined to bat .451 with a .481 on base percentage.
Colton Wong takes ball 1. He got a 5-year extension in his spring training. Talking with Chris Bosio before the game, he expected John to be primed for this start, and he was happy to see when they laid out the rotation schedule to start the year that Lackey would pitch game 1 tonight. I suppose there are some guys you kind of get a little worried about facing their former team, but Boz thinks Lackey will respond well here tonight. 3-1. Three and 2.
Wong's been in a bit of a funk, was given a couple of days off by Mike Matheny. Struggling some at the plate. He's had his struggles in the field as well, but he's a good one. Not a big guy, but he's powerful.
Lackey again. Got him looking to end the inning. They go 1-2-3. We're scoreless after 2. viewers, it's time for the Subway third inning triple play promotion. Text Subway 3 to 97999 right now, and the 300th texter will get a $30 gift card to Subway, a Subway restaurant in the Chicagoland area. Subway, fresh is what we do. Strike on John Lackey. Sounded like a smattering of boos for him as he was announced. And a strike. Could we call this a leaky matchup tonight?
Leaky Lackey?
Leak working quickly, and strike 3 called. Folks, quick work of the Cubs starter. I'm a little disoriented because there's certain things you get used to in this game, and one of them is a double-digit number on the pitcher. Mike Leake is wearing number 8.
Yeah, it was kind of like Carl Edwards Jr. in spring training. I think he wore 6.
Yeah, but you said it's because he was too skinny to put.
One big enough for double digits.
Right. Fowler with a leadoff double. Yesterday did not reach base for the first time this season. He's now been on 27 times, 16 hits.
Well,
9 walks, a couple of hit by pitches.
Leak in a real good rhythm right now. Might serve the Cub hitters to step out on him a little bit, try to alter his rhythm.
Strike 3 called.
Cub fans, let's go. The Cubs' next homestand will feature 3 games with the Brewers and a weekend set with the Braves. Tickets are going fast. Visit Cubs.com today and plan now for the games you want to see all season long. A reminder that the Cubs have added metal detectors at all Wrigley Field gates. So make sure to come early. Gates open 2 hours before each game.
That's that cutter. So a couple of caught looking strike 3s on that pitch.
Yeah, and it looks like Torres, the home plate umpire, is going to open up that outside corner a little bit too, and Leak and Lackey both certainly capable of exploiting that.
He's looking for the immaculate inning. He's 8 pitches in. They've all been strikes. Let's see if Hayward can spoil it. Well, they ended up all strikes, but he doesn't strike out the side. Same result, though. They go in order. Cubs selfies at hashtag WGN Cubs. So via Twitter, and we may use them in our fan cam segment a little later on. Grooving on a Monday night in St. Louis as Lackey faces Aledmys Diaz, the shortstop. Swing and a miss. Strike one. After walking Matt Carpenter in the first, Lackey has sent down 6 in a row. He's won a couple of World Series clinchers. Game 7 for the Angels in 02 as a rookie. 2013 with Boston at Fenway Park, Game 6 against the Cardinals. Not getting the early run support that he got in his first 2 starts, but dialing up some zeros on the mound.
And the way Leake is going along here, looks like runs may be tough to come by. Cubs were shut out yesterday. Leake kind of taking a page out of the Rockies playbook with his approach here tonight.
Bounce to Bryant. 1 away.
Folks, the Budweiser patio offers fans an all-inclusive Budweiser bleacher experience in prime home run territory right down the right field line. This outdoor semi-private space opens 2 hours prior to the game and is perfect for corporate outings, client events, and family gatherings. For more on all the available outdoor spaces located in the Budweiser bleachers, visit cubs.com/premier.
Mike Leake cranks one to center, but Dexter Fowler on the back pedal makes a catch right at the top of the arch. Let's cut into the grass. Hard to see on that shot, but yeah, as you pull back, you can.
Yeah, you can position your outfielders on the parabola. Start at the peak of the parabola and play them 3 steps to the right.
Here's Carpenter. He's hit for a lot more home run power since the start of last year. He had 28 home runs last season and a couple this year. He's led the National League in doubles twice.
Usually works a very patient at bat. Has a .411 on base percentage this year. Rarely swings at that first pitch, but every now and then he'll ambush you.
Lackey has allowed the leadoff man to reach in the first inning in each of his first 3 starts. Tonight it was a walk. And Carpenter strikes out, and that's that. To the 4th. Cubs nothing, Cardinals nothing. Today's Speed Replay brought to you by Xfinity. John Lester's first career extra base hit, so he's not going to pass your record. He's got a double now.
Yeah.
That was the hardest hit ball yesterday of the season by a pitcher. Speed Replay brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience television. The top 3 on that list were all from last year.
Yeah, that was legit. He really got into that low fastball. Unfortunately, that was a leadoff double, and the Cubs weren't able to cash it in, much like the Fowler double to start the game here tonight. Yeah, Lester is he's figuring some things out in the batter's box.
Ben Zobrist fouls as we start the 4th inning. Through 3. Leak just over 33 pitches. Lackey at 39. And it's 0-2 on Zobrist.
Yeah, I think what happens when a guy throws as many strikes as Leak and Lackey are doing here tonight, hitters get a little hitterish and they swing earlier. They become less patient. It's kind of like when a basketball team starts to run and the other team kind of runs along with them, even though that might not be their style of play. So you're taking these normally patient hitters, disciplined hitters who like to work deeper counts, and he's got them in the swing mode early.
Rizzo and then Bryant here in the Cubs' 4th. He got him. Home plate umpire has been pretty busy with that strike 3 call tonight.
The newborn fan club is the perfect gift for parents of tiny Cubs to showcase what it means to be a Cub for life. Receive a customized photo of the Wrigley Field marquee, a Cubs birth certificate, baby stocking cap, and a unique Cubs onesie. Visit Cubs.com/kids for more information.
Rizzo hit by a pitch his first time up. That will not happen here as he grounds right into the shift. Colton Wong makes the play. Now Chris Bryant. Elias reporting Bryant is the first Cub ever with 100 RBIs within 1 year of his major league debut, and we talked about that anniversary yesterday. He finished with 99 last year. He's got 104 in the big leagues. Ground ball again. It's Colton Wong. And Mike Leake has not broken a sweat. 7 pitches made in the 4th. Your team pride with Cubs checking and an official Cubs MasterCard debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC. Lots of good starting pitching notes for the Cubs. Each starter's gone 6 in the first 12 games. First time Cubs starting staff has done that since 1910, according to Ed Hardig. A strike on Jeremy Hazelbaker. Cubs, the first major league team since 1999. And 1 ball, 1 strike. The 1988 Houston Astros went 22 games. Cue shot, backhanded, Bryant. Nicely done to get Hazelbaker.
Well, the way these pitchers are going along here, every little play takes on added significance. Funky angle there for a third baseman, a left-handed hitter hitting the ball on the ground with some spin in that direction, but a nice play by Bryant.
So that note I had about the 6-inning starts.
Yep.
That's just a tease. We'll have more information a little later. And I have a question for you, and I don't want you to overthink it.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Rarely am I accused of overthinking anything.
That's true. Matt Holliday playing his normal position left field. He has made 4 starts at first. And a line drive, base hit. So the Cardinals have their first base runner since Carpenter's walk in the first inning, and that is their first hit of the night.
Chest high fastball. Holliday has tremendous power, great power the other way, and tempting for Jason Hayward. I think he thought about trying to come in and make a play on this ball, but probably made the prudent decision to make sure to keep it in front. If he leaves his feet, it's probably going to be 3 bases if he doesn't catch it.
Swing and a miss by Moss. If the Cubs can turn a double play here, and every double play the Cubs turn, be brought to you by State Farm. Combine your car and home insurance with State Farm and save. Find an agent at statefarm.com. He went.
They've got the shift on for Moss. And now with 2 strikes, Addison Russell's going to peel back where he can be the pivot man on a ground ball to the right side. Prior to that, that was not the case. He was in and over closer to third base.
One and 2. Rockies and Reds are tied at 1 in the bottom of the 7th in Cincinnati. Rockies just won 2 of 3 against the Cubs. We'll see the Reds for 4 starting Thursday. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Second time he has struck out Moss tonight. He's got great action on that slide ball tonight.
Piscotty. Ball 1. Dan Straley has joined the Reds rotation. He went 5 tonight, gave up 1 run. Nationals are 9-2. They're trailing at Miami 5-1 in the 7th. Marlins starting their home schedule 0-5. Patriots Day today. In Boston, the Red Sox lost 4-3 to the Blue Jays. Piscotty swings and misses. Holiday will hold. 1-2.
Scotty must have been guessing strike there. Oh, not even close.
Swing and a miss to end the inning. 6 strikeouts for Lackey. He and Leake dueling tonight. Timeout for our Mazda replay cam. Mike Leake, different uniform, but we've seen him be pretty good against the Cubs. 5-0 in his last 9 starts. And freezing these Cub hitters with 2 strikes.
Yeah, he's got command of all of his pitches, and he's making them aware of both sides of the plate, so he's able to freeze them when he's got 2 strikes. So the run support not there for John tonight. But early on this year, it certainly has been. Last time out, they scored 5 runs in the bottom of the first for him.
9-2 lifetime against the Cubs. This is his 20th career start versus Chicago, his major league debut. Came with the Reds against the Cubs. Foul strike on Miguel Montero.
Leake went right from college to the big leagues. Leake out of Arizona State. First round pick of the Reds, June of 2009.
A reminder, the 5th inning is brought to you by Fifth Third Bank, the Curious Bank. Leake from San Diego. Swing and a miss on a curve. So his 5th strikeout, the first one that has been swinging. I do think Leake is a guy who could play another position if he didn't pitch. He played every position in the infield and outfield except third base as a sophomore at ASU.
Yeah, high school he was an outstanding soccer player, so he could be a guy. He could be a candidate, right? If he's say he's in the 7th inning of a tight game and he's still throwing well, but there's a dangerous left-handed hitter up there. You could bring a lefty out of the bullpen, go stick Leak somewhere in the outfield for a hitter, and then bring him back in.
Yep. Soler fans.
My goodness. Unbelievable what's going on here tonight. How do you get to Wrigley Field? The Cubs suggest taking public transportation. They do offer a free bike check, now located by the Addison Red Line station. For drivers, the Cubs provide free remote parking and shuttle service on night and weekend games. For information, visit the A to Z guide at Cubs.com.
Strike one on Russell. Get into an inning-ending double play in the second.
Scoreless ball game, middle innings. Matt Carpenter is guarding the line at third base.
Yeah, he's about 18 inches off the line.
I didn't notice if he was playing Russell there first time up. Normally you think about that no doubles deployment later in the game, so maybe it's just a scouting report.
One, two, fouled back.
It's almost as if the Fowler double to start the ball game was like an early wake-up call to Leak. No, you can't throw the ball over the heart of the plate, and he has been very precise since then. Yeah, he's throwing a lot of strikes, but he's not throwing a lot of cookies.
Outside, it's full, 3-2. Pitcher on deck. And Lackey will get a chance. Holiday will cut it off. Russell has a 2-out single. Second hit for the Cubs. 10 in a row had been sent down by Mike Leake.
Yeah, at the time the slider didn't have a whole lot of bite. It flattened out on him a little bit above the knees, and a good swing by Russell. And nothing else here. You can clear the pitcher spot in the batting order and start with Fowler in the 6th unless Lackey can get something done here.
Bounces right to the shortstop, Diaz. That'll take him to the bag, and that is it for the Cubs in the 5th. Baseball is brought to you by Budweiser, not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. Cubs looking for their 10th win. Right now it's 0-0. Best chance for either team was in the very first inning as Dexter Fowler started the game with a double. Leak eventually got out of it. Haven't really had any chances since. Cardinals have had 2 base runners, but nobody has reached second to this point. And here's Yadier Molina, an all-star last year for the 7th consecutive year, won his 8th consecutive Gold Glove. Missed the final couple of weeks of the regular season, suffering a torn left thumb ligament on the tag play at home plate at Wrigley Field on September 20th. He returned in the postseason, was not particularly effective against the Cubs, went 1 for 8 in the first 3 games, didn't play in game 4, and he had 2 operations on that thumb after the season.
Usually when you think of Molina, you think about right center.
Yep. This one to right, and it's Hayward. So 1 out, and it's the second baseman, Colton Wong. Because of all these deep starts, the Cubs bullpen, 28 innings, tied for the fewest in baseball with the White Sox.
Yeah, and it's interesting the plan early on, and when the Cubs went to spring training, they backed off their veteran guys, the veteran starters, and to back them off a little bit to minimize the workload in spring training with an eye towards making sure they were fresh for the long season ahead. But they've been so good here. It's not like they're throwing a ton of pitches. They've been efficient. They've been able to pitch deep in the game. So it's working out wonderfully for Joe Maddon because he's got a well-rested bullpen, and you want to keep those guys sharp.
Jason Hamill, Jaime Garcia. Tomorrow night, Kyle Hendricks and Carlos Martinez on Wednesday.
Look out.
Lined into center. And Wong is on. It's going to be a long bullpen night for the White Sox. Carlos Rodon recorded 1 out tonight. Angels lead the Sox 6-0 in the 3rd. High bouncer, fair. Going to hit that diagonal sidewall. Long to 3rd. Diaz has a double. And the Cardinals have him at 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. The pitcher coming up, but it's Mike Leake who can hit.
Yeah, one of the better hitting pitchers in the game, so that certainly changes the math here a little bit. This is just a bad break for Lackey. The first base hit was a hanging breaking ball. The one that Wong shot up through the middle. This is just a tough break for Lackey. Diaz beats this ball into the ground. Big high hopper, barely fair.
So let's see how Mike Matheny decides to play it here. Would imagine he'll be swinging away. Cornermen about even with the bag, and Leake checked his swing on a slider. Lackey thought he swung at it.
Well, thinking here from the Cubs' point of view is get Leake, either put Carpenter on or pitch carefully to Carpenter and then go after the youngster Hazelbaker.
Lackey was right. Career .210 hitter. Swing and a miss. You can see he's not treating him like a typical pitcher. Couple of breaking balls to start it.
Because he's thinking punch out. He's pitching for swings and misses right now.
Squeeze play, missed it, and they've got Wong in a rundown, and he's safe. Montero's throw actually caught by Bryant. Russell was at the bag. Bryant made the catch, and by that time Wong had gotten back to third.
Wow, they let him off the hook. Matheny tries a suicide squeeze. Leak so good with the bat, comes up empty.
Like Montero held on too long.
Yeah, and
and then the two guys got caught.
In a perfect world, you want to make that a one-throw rundown, and you want the play to be made back there at third base. So his thinking was right. The execution just wasn't good.
So everybody in on the infield. 1 and 2 on Leak. The pitch. Driven to left and foul. Well, that had home run distance. He's got 6 career homers.
Lackey calls Montero out to the mound for a conversation, so he wants to tell him not only the pitch but his idea of what he wants to do with the pitch. Bounce breaking ball probably gets the job done.
Fastball is high.
There's always danger in the breaking ball in the dirt.
Big moment in this game. Second and third, 1 out. 5th inning and a scoreless tie. The pitch. And he got him on that pitch in the dirt. 2 down.
You just have to have the conviction to make the pitch. You got to trust your catcher that he's going to knock it down. The decision time with Carpenter up there. See how aggressive they are going after him with the base open. So this is the instance where Carpenter might jump you. I talked about his patience earlier. He rarely offers at the first pitch. He has walked and struck out here tonight. But in a situation like this, he might double cross you. If you're aggressive early, he may be aggressive as well.
Lackey really didn't give him a chance to swing at that one. 1 ball, no strikes.
This may be a pitch around here.
Hazelbaker on deck. Yep. Hazelbaker off to a great start, but not much of a track record. This is only his 13th game. It's on the corner.
So if you're pitching around a guy, you make every pitch as if it's 0-2. So you have a couple chase fastballs and then a breaking ball to the outside corner and a fastball count. Feel fairly confident you're going to get a take there so you can find the strike zone. Got a veteran catcher, a veteran pitcher, so Joe Madden, I think, basically leaving it in their hands.
Swing and a miss.
It's been a good weapon for him too, that Sinker.
Wondering if that was a change, possibly.
Maybe. It's a little harder than his change normally is, but it might have been.
Whatever it was, it worked. And it sets up a 2-2. Okay, so you're kind of working around a guy, but now you're back in at 2-2. So
you got to stay. You got to stay the course.
The plan?
Yeah, if that was the plan all along, I think you've got to maintain that. I'm not going to give in to this guy. Still trying to make the perfect pitch. And I'm guessing that's the conversation they're having right now. One thing, the quality of those last two pitches has got to have Carpenter thinking a little bit, right? Because after the first two fastballs, I'm sure he's thinking, well, they're not coming after me. They're just going to put me on.
Oh, he got him. And it will look like another changeup. So Lackey gets out of it.
What's wrong with being confident? What's wrong with being confident? It's time to get the chains out. Is your tongue tied up?
John Lackey has been tremendous through 5. So has Mike Leake.
That was an incredible job by Lackey. That was fun to watch. After the botched rundown on the squeeze play, I said, I got you, boys. I got you covered.
Inside on Dexter Fowler. Third time through for the Cubs. Not much happening offensively early for either team. Cardinals, though, had a golden chance.
It has been an impressive show. There's two right-handers. Interesting, I was reading an article today talking about Mike Leake, and they said on Baseball Reference on their similarity scores when they compare him to another pitcher, the second guy listed was John Lackey.
Oh, I like that. Fowler gets a hold of one. Deep right center. Gone. Cubs lead 1-0 in the 6th.
Wow. What a start it has been for Dexter Fowler. That's his third home run. He had one a couple of days ago, a 3-run shot. This is a solo shot. Leadoff double, and then this fastball just pulverized by Fowler.
Number 3 on the year.
That pitch in a bad spot, and it didn't have the movement we have seen from Leake. Well, it had movement after it got to the plate. It had plenty of movement.
Cubs have 3 hits. Fowler has 2 of them. And a 2-0 count on Jason Hayward. .439 feet. The estimated distance of that home run. Now 3-0. Hit hard but foul, and Hayward broke his bat. I want to see it again.
Let's do.
Wonder if the exit velocity was close to the Lester double the other day. I'm going to say it is. 3-2. So Leak back in it, and a line shot right at Colton Wong.
Well, this is the third time around, and they're getting some good swings now at Leak. That one had a little hair on it. Pretty good exit velocity on that line drive.
Bounced to the second baseman, Wong. Zobrist 0 for 3. 2 outs. Here's Rizzo. Couple of minor league notes. Bijan Rademacher, the Southern League Player of the Week, off to a great start with Tennessee. And Donnie Dewey's an outfielder, 2nd-round pick from last year. He's on the MLB Pipeline's inaugural Prospect Team of the Week, getting .421 for South Bend through 10 games. Foul, just foul.
Those guys have to get to the big leagues just because of their names.
I agree.
Bijan Rademacher, Donnie Dewey's. Son, we're gonna have to send you out, send you down to the minor leagues. But I got a really cool name. Don't you think that's worth something?
I would think. Fly ball center field. This is Jeremy Hazelbaker, another great name. And he hauls it in. Dexter Fowler giving this offense a lot of confidence. 1-0.
It's time to get
go. Don't miss your chance to catch the best matchups in baseball. Join the season ticket holder waiting list. It's easy, and it's free to register. For details, visit Cubs.com/waiting list.
So the MLB Game Day app had Dexter Fowler's home run at 108 miles an hour off the bat. Hayward's line out to Wong, 110 miles an hour. Nicely done by Fowler. Little leap in the grab to retire Hazelbaker.
Some acknowledgments, left, right, and then to Lackey. I got you. You're allowed to make some mistakes tonight. They hit it hard. We'll run it down for you. Good read. Well done. Yeah, Jason just needed a little more lofted club. Hit that one iron. He needed something with a little bend in it.
That ball left the bat off Hazelbaker at 108. A lot of hard hit balls here in the middle innings. Now Holiday. And a strike. Mentioned Holiday getting a little time at first this year. His first experience in the infield. In the majors, he originally in the low minors with the Rockies was a third baseman.
That's right.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. He was recruited to play quarterback, wasn't he, at Oklahoma State? I believe that was the story way back in the day. He's had a heck of a career. Lifetime batting average better than 300. He's put up some great numbers. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he's a Hall of really good.
He kind of looks like he could be a good football player. He's a large man, but he's going to head back to the dugout empty-handed as John Lackey picks up another strikeout.
This is John's version of a thank you note to his teammates for all the run support he got his first 2 starts. He said, I got your back tonight, fellas. Jump on.
9 strikeouts. Inside on Brandon Moss.
Moss has struck out twice tonight. Last time it was on a slider, breaking down under his hands. I think he got him with a changeup first time. Well, this big pitch here. Got to find a way to get back into the count without throwing him a cookie. He's got, as we've mentioned, big time power.
Look, John Lackey was their best starter last year. You know, Wainwright got hurt. Martinez got injured at the end of the year. Lackey had a 277 with a staff high 218 innings. And it was a pitching staff that had an historic season. In 2015, the Cardinals led the majors with a 2.94 ERA. First team to put up a sub-3 over a full season since 1989. They almost set a record for left on base percentage. That is runners stranded, 79.4%. Called strike 3, 10 now for Lackey. Leading 1-0 after 6. Here's tonight's fan cam. The Shelters Rebel Heart. I like it. Kind of a jangly indie pop.
Yeah, it did have a little jangly thing going on.
Yep. JD taps his toes. I know that's a winner. Here's Chris Bryant. Cubs lead 1-0 on the Dexter Fowler homer in the 6th. 2 strikes on Bryant. What we have seen tonight goes against the narrative these first 2 weeks. Left field and a base hit. Well, these two offenses normally knock the opposing starting pitcher out pretty early.
Yeah, both these clubs really good at wearing down, making opposing starting pitchers work. It's been a big part of the Cubs' success this year. You see the numbers, fewest average innings pitched for opposing starters. The Cardinals have been able to chase the opposing starter less than 5 innings of work, and that was the case for the Cubs up until the weekend. A couple good starts by the Rockies, but both these starters in command of their game here this evening.
Bryant being held by Moss, and Montero takes ball 1.
And normally you're not worried too much about the swing and miss with Leake out there if you try to play a little run and hit. But he has been getting some swings and misses here tonight. Usually with the changeup or the slider.
Line drive center field, and Hazelbaker will have to play it on a bounce.
All right, little chance to play add-on here. 2 on, nobody out. Soler, nothing for 2 tonight. First time up, he scalded one, lined out to center. Last time he struck out. Montero pretty good about getting that ball in the air.
Now for our Lexus run predictor. Runner first and second, no outs. Cubs hitters right around league average. A Cardinal pitching staff giving up at least one, quite a bit in this situation. Brought to you by your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer. Hit hard, but knocked down by the shortstop Diaz. Throw to first, over Moss. Here comes Bryant. Montero to third. That ball went out of play. So it's 2-0. Runners at second and third.
The infield defense has been a bit of an issue for the Cardinals here in the early going. That's their 15th error this year. That leads Major League Baseball. I mean, this ball is really well struck again by Soler. There's a lot of pace on it, but it should be ruled an error. The bobble and then the errant throw.
So Derek Lilliquist, the pitching coach, will make a visit to the mound.
Mike Leake on that ball off the bat probably thought, well, there's my double play ball. He gets nothing.
So the first 2 times through the order combined, the Cubs had 2 hits. They have 3 this time, and a lot of hard hit balls. By the way, Lackey with his 6 innings so far tonight, he has reached 2,500 innings pitched in his career. And the Cubs trying to give him even more support as Matt Caesar will run for Soler.
Caesar would come in for defense anyway, so might as well get the upgrade in speed.
Infield in. Left-hander Tyler Lyons is up in the Cardinal bullpen, and the pitch to Russell, he squared and took ball one. The ball left the bat of Soler at 115 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the hardest hit ball we've seen all night. In the air, Montero will tag. That should be plenty deep enough. Hazelbaker makes the catch. He's going to throw toward third. Ball cut off. That's a 2-for-1. As Russell gets a sac fly, scoring Montero, and Caesar now at third with one out.
You want your hitter in that situation thinking middle of the diamond other way. Much more likely to get the ball airborne with that approach.
Infield still in. Lackey in the box. 0 for 2. Good speed at third, and Caesar in a swing and a miss. John with his 20th career game of at least 10 strikeouts.
Career high is 12. He's got a legit shot at that the way he's going along here tonight.
And a base hit. Caesar can trot home John Lackey with an RBI single, and the Cubs lead 4-0.
Have a night, big guy. My goodness. Breaking ball a little bit lazy. You see the frustration on the part of Leake.
Second hit and second RBI in his 3 starts. Ball one on Fowler. Mike Leake probably wondering what just happened. I was dealing, and now I'm down 4-0. Way outside, 2-1.
He's got Lyons ready in the bullpen, probably for Hayward. I'm a little bit surprised he didn't go get him prior to this at bat with the swings Fowler's had off of him tonight.
Full count, 3-2. One bounced into the Cardinal dugout. drive to center. Hazelbaker back on the warning track, and he has just enough room. And Fowler just got under one in his bid for another homer.
Dexter's seen it awfully well tonight. We've been seeing it well all year. Oh, so much for my Lions for Hayward theory.
They're sticking with the starter here. And Hayward with a line shot to right. He's squared up a couple, but is 0 for 4 tonight. His teammates, however, getting the job done offensively, leading 4-0. Honda Games Summary. Make sure you get amazing deals at the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event now at your Honda dealer. Dexter Fowler continues his excellent start to the season. Go-ahead home run in the 6th. Miguel Montero back in the starting lineup. And pitching in both ways, he's catching a shutout. John Lackey continuing the starters' stellar work. Might have to have a sim game one of these days to get all the relievers some work. It's a good problem to have, right? All these deep starts.
Yeah, because sooner or later you know you're going to get into a patch where you have some short starts, maybe deal with some weather and have to lean heavily on that bullpen.
As Scotty takes a strike, and with that it looks like Travis Wood has grabbed the ball in the Cubs bullpen.
Lack of work hasn't been an issue for Travis. He's been up a lot. He's been in a fair bit.
He's the lefty Mike Leake, right? Good athlete. Swing the bat. To Scotty, the 11th strikeout victim of John Lackey.
This Saturday is the 11th annual Race to Wrigley charity run presented by ATI Physical Therapy. There's still time to sign up and join the fun. It's a 5K run. Cubs Charities will donate proceeds to support critical care needs for pediatric patients in Chicago through Advocate Children's Hospital. Sign up at racetorwrigley.com.
Molina 0 for 2. Ground ball, right field, base hit.
There's that off-field approach, keeps that front side closed, basically forcing himself to think middle of the way, other way. Every now and then he'll try to get the head out in front of one, but that's his primary approach right there.
And Molina will get second on a wild pitch.
I think he was able to slide over and block it. He just couldn't find it.
Marlins beat the Nationals 6-1. Jose Fernandez got the victory. Marlins first at home. Swing and a miss. 2-1.
Changeup in a fastball count has been a real weapon for Lackey here tonight against these left-handed hitters. Coming into this game, the Cardinals as a team were hitting .292 against right-handed pitching.
Zobrist out, Hayward in. The slide and the catch by Hayward. He's made a couple of those tonight.
Well, a lot of Cub fans making a lot of noise in support of Hayward after that fine play, and then the Cardinal fans responding with the boos. Hey, they don't boo nobodies. That's what Reggie Jackson said.
Nope. Sliding catch against Holiday in the first and against Wong here in the seventh.
To issue an apology to Jason because I'm going to take him for granted. I'm going to assume he's going to catch every ball hit like that.
Diaz the batter. Matt Adams now on deck in the pitcher's spot. Diaz from Cuba, 25 years old. 1-1. Got to be careful with these Cardinal pinch hitters. They have 6 pinch hit home runs already. Diaz pops it up. And Russell makes the catch to end the inning. John Lackey cruising along through 7 against his former team. Let's check out the forward upcoming schedule for the Cubs. 2 more here in St. Louis, and then 4 in the Cincinnati. Reds lost tonight to the Rockies. Off day Monday. Brewers and Braves come to town next week. Brought to you by Ford, inviting you to visit your local Ford store or on the web at localfordstores.com. Former Padre Jed Jerko is in to play second base, part of a double switch. Here's lefty Tyler Lyons.
Lyons has been on the scene here at St. Louis for the last 4 seasons, or at least parts thereof.
Ben Zobrist snaps an offer, and he's on his way to second with a standing double. That ends in 0 for 24.
He just told Brandon Hyde, should we get the ball?
I don't care how long you're in this league and how much success you have. When you go 0 for 24, you start to think, am I ever going to get another hit?
Yeah, that's the challenge. When you're going along nicely, you don't have to think too much about it. When you start to scuffle, it can really become an issue.
Rainbow to center. Hazelbaker will throw toward third as Zobrist tags, and Ben is in.
Folks, check out the EMC Legend Suite located on the Nuveen Investment Suite level. Not only will your group enjoy a gourmet food and beverage package, they'll also receive a pregame tour and a visit from a former Cub player. That'll all happen during the ball game. You'll talk baseball, take photos, get autographs, hear classic baseball stories. For more information, visit Cubs.com/premier.
Infield in. 3 guys between second and third. You see Moss, the only infielder between first and second, and Bryant with a base hit. Little blooper, little drop. Zobrist scores. It's 5-0.
I don't think Chris is particularly proud of that one, but he'll take it. Kind of a sheepish look on his face down there at first base, but that's 2 hits in his last 2 ABs. He got things started last inning.
So Lackey's starting to get that big time run support, coming a little later maybe than in his first 2 starts. Montero fouls away.
It's interesting, the Cubs in that first road trip, so much of the offense was fueled by walks. It has not been the case here tonight. Just a string of hits there in the 7th after Fowler got things started with the home run in the 6th.
Leak only with 1 walk. He allowed 4 runs in his 7 innings. 3 were earned. This is John Lackey at his best tonight. That's a strike.
Yeah, and now we'll see if Joe decides to run Lackey back out there or turns it over to the bullpen.
2 guys up in the pen. A lot of it depends on the score. We often talk to Joe the following day, and he says, well, once we got that extra run, I decided to make a change. 1-6-3 as a tag is applied by Moss, and that will end the inning. And Miguel Montero is telling Joe to ask for a replay. So hang on a second. This is almost a no-brainer if it's a 50-50 call. You got to ask for it, and I don't think he got him. Yep, and he has challenged.
The time it takes, if we were playing Sandlot, you know, when you're a kid, the time it takes to review is the time it would take to have the argument down there, at, you know, with your buddies. You got me. No, you didn't. I got you. No, you didn't. And then maybe you'd have a fight. And so now this is more civil. So maybe I don't know if kids play Sandlot. Do the kids just go out and pick up baseball anymore? I don't know. They probably have a review system.
So the play is under review, and I think it'll get overturned. Pedro Strop along with Travis Wood in the Cubs bullpen.
You know, the other thing, and they're just showing a look here on the big board in the ballpark, and maybe we can get another look. I'm not sure that Moss was off the base. I don't know that he had to apply the tag based on the look they just had on the big board here.
Right, so two parts, right?
Right.
If he's on the base right there, he's out anyway. Yeah.
I mean,
well, is it possible they're asking for the tag, and then Mike Matheny, if they say safe, could, or they're supposed to look at all of it?
Review the whole play. Yeah. I think he was off. I think he was off. That last look, it looked like he was off.
But it's funny, isn't it? That every look you go, well, yes, no. So we wait.
Yeah, and I mean, if somebody were to ask me my opinion, what I would argue is if you can't find a definitive look to overrule the call in the field after 30 seconds or so, then the call stands.
I agree. I do think a time limit should be invoked. We do it between innings, mound visits.
Yeah.
The clock does exist, so why not use it for this?
Maybe you could make exceptions for boundary calls, like whether it's a home run or not, or run scoring plays. Well, we've seen so many of these bang bang plays at first base where they look at it time and time again to try to, you know, break it down frame by frame. And I understand the concept of let's get it right, but I think initially the thinking was you had to have conclusive evidence to overturn, and this is going to be a call stands.
Bottom of the eighth, Cubs lead 5-0.
Several offers, but Cardinals were busy doing other stuff. I think I didn't really talk to them much this offseason, but I definitely wanted to be here, wanted to be part of this this organization, and just the vibe right now is awesome, man. Things are going in the right direction, and Lester being my boy, he was recruiting me pretty hard, so we got it done.
2-year contract and off to a very good start. 8th inning and time for the Mattress Firm Great 8 stat of the game. So Cubs now with 13 games to start the season, with a starting pitcher going at least 6. Lackey went 7 tonight. And it's brought to you by Mattress Firm, where we want you to sleep happy, guaranteed. Remember, it's over 8. It's time to replace. Travis Wood now on. You see the 1988 Houston Astros made 22 starts to begin the year. The starters went at least 6 innings. A lefty named Jim Deshaies made 4 of those starts. Can you name the other 4 pitchers in that rotation?
1988?
Yes.
Mike Scott?
Yes.
Nolan Ryan?
Yes.
Bob Knepper?
Correct.
Danny Darwin?
That's it. We have a winner.
AKA Dr. Death.
Here's Jed Jerko. Care to tell us how he got that nickname?
Danny?
Yeah.
He was kind of a Texas gunslinger kind of guy, not afraid to knock people off the plate. Sweetheart of a guy, but he had this persona on the mound, and Nolan Ryan nicknamed him that.
Danny
Dr. Death.
Darwin, Dr. Death.
And then we just shortened it to Death.
Not the doctor?
Yeah, what's up, Death?
Swing and a miss. It is 1-2.
Jerko's an interesting case. Early on in San Diego, showed a lot of power, then kind of fell off the cliff there for a while. Cardinals hoping he can kind of bounce back. He did last year anyway. 2 years ago, I guess it was the second half of the year where he really turned things around.
And he strikes out. That's the 12th strikeout for Cubs pitching.
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you have come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to At-Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details.
Carpenter has walked and struck out twice. Maybe the biggest sequence of the game for Lackey, well, for sure for him, but maybe of the game itself, was the bottom of the 5th when the Cardinals were trying to score the first run. They had runners at second and third with 1 out, failed on a suicide squeeze attempt, but the Cubs let him off the hook as Wong got back to third. Leake then struck out, and then Lackey punched out Carpenter on back-to-back changeups.
Yeah, it was a heck of a confrontation and just so well executed by Lackey against Carpenter. One of those situations with a couple guys in scoring position, you basically telling the hitter, hey, you want to try to be a hero? See if you can hit this changeup that's 4 inches below your knee and 3 inches off the outside corner.
Pulled on the ground past a diving Anthony Rizzo. Carpenter towards second. Mentioned he's a doubles machine, and he slides in with a 2-bagger. Hazelbaker He's not a prospect. He's 28. Drafted by the Red Sox in 09. 7 seasons in the minors. Boston, the Dodgers, the Cardinals.
Yeah, he was playing in the Dodger minor league system last year. Was released, was actually home for about a couple of weeks. The Cardinals signed him, sent him to Double-A. He had success there, went to Triple-A and hit .330. And quite a story. Came to camp. Apparently made the club on the last day. Had a very good spring. He's had a very good start to his major league career. From Selma, Indiana.
Early career success in this game, particularly for guys who've been in the minors for a long time or have moved around different organizations. It's always tempered, isn't it? You often get the scouts and opposing teams, managers and players go, yeah, it's been impressive, but check back with me in 2 months. That goes for pitchers and position players. You can have good spurts.
Yes.
But it's hard to sustain.
And you do it over the long haul. And you know, if you're going to throw a wet blanket over the Jeremy Hazelbaker experience here in St. Louis, you would say, well, gee, man, this guy struck out a lot in the minor league. So,
well, Trevor Story,
unless he's made some significant changes, you know, that's going to catch up to him. Yeah, the Trevor Story stories.
People think that he will come back to the pack because of all the strikeouts.
Story a little different in that he's a lot younger.
Right.
And doesn't have that you know, the resume that you can kind of look at and go, well, gee, the fact that he did this all throughout his minor league career leads you to believe that, you know, it's going to get exposed at the big league level. But there are cases of guys too that figure something out a little bit later than others, or maybe they were just backed up in certain organizations that were so deep they didn't have opportunities. Ryan Ludwig, right? He was kind of a late bloomer.
He was. That's a good one. Well, if you're using Ludwig as an example, I suppose one of the other answers might be, and then you put on a Cardinal uniform and there's some sort of magic formula here.
Magic pixie dust or whatever.
2-2 from Wood is foul. Ooh, just missed. And some good tweets here. David Ortiz didn't work out in Minnesota. Went to Boston. Boom. Danny checking in. Jake Arrieta. Jose Bautista. Just a couple of other examples. Yeah.
Who was the catcher of the Braves? Greg Olson? Was it Greg Olson?
Sounds right.
I think he was like a rookie at 29 or 30, and I think he made an all-star team. See, now the interesting thing about Hazelbaker, I'm looking at his numbers here, a minor league career batting average of .264. But .308 at Springfield last year, then .333 at Memphis, you know, significantly better than he had ever done. So maybe he's made some adjustment.
Called strike 3. He did not agree with it. But that's the second out.
There's a lot of red ink on my scorecard tonight. Front door cut fastball tickles the outside corner, or inside corner rather.
That'll be it for Travis Wood. Pedro Strop coming on. How about that? We're in St. Louis and they're playing the Blackhawks goal song.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. 5-0 Cubs.
It's a psychological ploy.
Just played Chelsea Dagger as Pedro Strop came into the game.
Strop on for the 6th time. And he's pitched to a 1.80 ERA. I think this is just Joe Madden getting Strop out there to get an out here in the 8th. Just to start to build a little confidence for him in this ballpark. He's had some bad outings here and some bad memories.
Facing Matt Holliday with Carpenter at second and 2 outs. Cubs leading 5-0 in the 8th. Fastball inside. Ball 1. You noticed during Cubs batting practice that they were playing some very light music.
Yeah, they were playing a little Vivaldi or something.
Was it the Nationals who did that?
Yeah, somebody, the Nationals or the Phillies, would play classical music while the other team was taking BP.
A little gamesmanship.
I guess, yeah.
You liked it.
Oh, yeah, I loved it.
Although you weren't taking batting practice.
Yeah.
Ground ball. Chris Bryant will make the throw to first, and the inning is over. 5-0 Cubs as we go to the 9th from St. Louis. Set tomorrow night, Jason Hamill and Jaime Garcia coming off a dandy. Kyle Hendricks Wednesday afternoon against hard-throwing Carlos Martinez. Might get some rain Wednesday. Cubs scoring late, leading 5-0. Lions to Matt Caesar and a swing and a miss.
Lions, a former starting pitcher's got a good changeup, not a real hard thrower. Finesse guy.
Tried a breaking ball and missed. Two hoppers skipped to Diaz. He's had some trouble with his throws. That one dug out by Moss. Russell bounced into a double play in the second, singled in the fifth, hit a sac fly in the seventh. It's Trevor Cahill getting ready, it looks like, for the bottom of the ninth. Javier Baez on deck. Some other scores. Mets beat the Phillies 5-2. David Wright hit 2 home runs. Rockies over the Reds 5-1 the final. Rockies are 8-5 to start the year. Twins leading the Brewers 7-4 in the bottom of the 6th. Twins all of a sudden looking for their 4th straight win after losing 9 straight to begin the year.
Resourceful Cub fan using the hat to make the play. So he's a little geeked up.
They're going to fight for it. Hazel Baker. Here's Baez, recently off the disabled list, made a couple of starts this weekend. It was game 4, the clincher against the Cardinals with the big home run. Broken bat, little pop up that's going to hit the turf and a base hit. Jerko tried to barehand it, couldn't come up with it. By the way, the Baez homer, the 3-run shot, was off John Lackey in game 4.
You know who would have caught this ball?
Who's that?
Billy Martin. Because you've seen it in that old black and white video of the World Series when he came dashing in to make that catch on that blooper.
Cubs with their 9th hit. Fowler with a double and a home run. Batting right-handed. And another ball well hit deep to right center. Caught on the warning track. He's had a really good night at the plate. Bottom 9. Cubs 5, Cardinals nothing. Early on, it was a pitcher's duel, and John Lackey and Mike Leake were incredibly efficient, striking out people, very few chances. Cubs got on the board in the 6th. They would add on in the 7th and the 8th. And now Trevor Cahill in a non-save spot will look to get the final 3 outs.
Great starting pitching for the Cubs tonight. The bullpen has been doing their piece. Trevor comes on for the 6th time with a .270 earned run average. Yeah, great starting pitching. Some late timely hitting. A big critical error by Diaz, the Cardinal shortstop. Figured in the scoring. Cubs have played a clean game defensively. A couple very nice plays in the outfield by Fowler and Hayward.
1-1 to Moss is in for a strike. 1-2.
Moss has got the hat trick. He's just trying to avoid the golden sombrero here.
Swing and a miss, and he cannot avoid it. So 4 at bats, 4 strikeouts. One out, and it brings up Piscotty. And as you might have said last year, that with meatballs at Canetto's, that sounds like a good plan up on the hill.
Don't throw Piscotty any meatballs.
Still 0-2. Bryant will cut it off, and he spins and throws and gets him.
He's made a couple of nice plays tonight as well. Long arms help.
Molina is 1 out of 3. Sellout tonight, 45,432. A lot have left on a school night. Cub fans, though, are hanging around, making some noise. Two and 1. Now 3 and 1. Three and 2. Cubs looking at a 10-3 start. Including 6-1 on the road if they win this one.
Whoop. Montero, I think, wanted to rethink things.
3-2 is inside for ball 4. Cubs with the fewest walks among all pitching staffs in baseball.
Cahill, I think, upset with the pitch selection there. He threw a 3-2 changeup. You know, he had fallen behind Molina, threw him a 2-0 heater, a 3-1 heater, and I can understand what Montero was thinking. He wasn't just going to keep laying fastballs in there, but it's a 5-0 game. It probably would have made sense to do just that.
It was only the 25th walk issued by Cubs pitching. Matt Adams, deep center. Fowler on the track. He's got it. Cubs win. Cubs win. 5-0 the final, and they start this 19-game season series by shutting out St. Louis.
Yeah, I would say, Dexter, hang on to that ball. You deserve a game ball for your effort here tonight, but he might be more inclined to hand it over to John Lackey, who was the real star of the show tonight. Man, what a performance by Lackey. Clutch pitching when the Cardinals had that two-runner on situation. It's a beautiful job by the big right-hander here tonight.
Final score, Cubs 5, Cardinals nothing. We'll have more from St. Louis.